to the Bear Down Abroad. Welcome back to the Bear Down Abroad podcast with me, and here I am in my lovely dome that is Gothenburg, as everyone knows, and well out of my shed by now. And I must have woken up the whole house last night when one Mr. Loveland decided to, I don't know, go 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever, 100 yards down the field to break some Bengals' hearts. It was brilliant to watch. Some game. Loads to talk about tonight, though. And I've got me and Tony. Just me and Tony. So, Tony, let's hit the thing.
Hello, we're back. It feels like it's been fucking weeks since we've been on here talking Bears, talking to you guys, but we're back after a couple of weeks. We're delighted to be back. And we're back after another win, more importantly. What are your immediate thoughts after that mad game last night? I mean, it was just mad. I can't think of any other word to describe it.
Insane is the word I used. I'm stunned I didn't wake up the house. Two little dogs, girlfriend, myself, she went off to bed. I was literally screaming internally because I don't want to wake anyone up at 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday night. But that was insane. Like, first of all, for the Bears to score 47 points and should have got to 54 had we not been robbed of a pick six in my eyes. I get it, the rules, but the rules on that one are a bit crap. I think Tremaine Edmonds deserved that pick six. But everything about it was just insane. Like, I never felt confident in our kicker. I never felt confident in a lot of things that were going on defensively. I didn't feel confident in our special teams was atrocious. And then we had some sensational performances by our rookies and by other key players at key moments. We're going to get on to him later, but Joe Tooney was something else. He was sensational. And our big name players like that really stood up. And yet and all, we nearly threw it away in very Bears style. How can you concede 15 points in 53 seconds or something like that? That's just so Chicago Bears. It's not even funny against Joe Flacco having a career day while injured. And I'd say if there was another 30 seconds on the clock, they win the game. So, bonkers. What about you?
Yeah, it was that sort of last 3 minutes, and it was like watching a tennis match. Do you know what I mean? Like the ball was just going back from one end of the pitch to the other, and the mad thing was, right, and I don't know if you felt like this as well. The mad thing was, I'm watching the game, and I'm like, Joe Flacco is going to go down the field and he's going to carve open our defensive backs, and the guys that they've got in the receiving core, they're going to catch the ball, they're going to score touchdowns. But at the same time, I'm like, but it's all right, because we're going to go back up the end and score anyway. Like, there was this sort of mad belief that it wouldn't have mattered what had happened. I just felt right from the start that we were going to win that game and we were going to somehow score more than the Bengals were going to score. And I don't know what it is with this Bears team at the moment, but there's like a newfound belief. And you know yourself, Ant, from watching the Bears for yonks, we lose that game any other season in the last 12 years. Easily. But last night, it was just a different beast altogether, you know. And for all the defense were pretty horrible for the most part. The offense were really fucking good, you know. Don't get me wrong. Again, it wasn't perfect, but again, we're in the first week of November. It's not going to be perfect. We're getting there, but they were really fucking good. We're scoring over 40 points in a game and winning a shootout. When was the last time you remember seeing the Bears win a shootout match?
And that's the point for me. We won. We're winning games Like if you look back, like I saw this the other day. Like we could have been 2-6, we could have been 7-1. But what I will say about this is when we've come up against the really good teams, Detroit Lions are a really good team. We get outclassed, and that's fine. Where we are in our development, that's understandable. But for us to be winning, as you rightly said, for us to be winning those games that are winnable, but still finding a way to win it away from home against the Raiders, and now against the Bengals, I'm missing one in between. Washington, those games that you're like, you know what? Every other time we've supported the Bears doing these show and other shows we did, there was no hope they win those games. Ben Johnson has installed into the players this belief that you get to the fourth quarter and you're close, you're going to win the game, and they all go into that belief and they go all into that system. And even if it's going horribly wrong, and as you said, Flacco had all day to pick a passes. I actually want to pick up on that a little bit. People having a pop. We need a cut. We need a corner. T. Higgins is one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. And he's got Jamar Chase on the other side, which needs double teaming. So I get it. I get the panic. We need cornerbacks. Like Nishan Wright's not done bad. Everyone was raving about Tariq Stevenson up to his injury. So they're going to get roasted by a lot of cornerbacks. Are going to get roasted by those two. And Flacco had a day. And sometimes you got to hold. Like this is the thing about sport, football especially. It's always your own team's fault. You never go, the other team are good. Like the other team's offense is good. And that Bengals offense with those wide receivers, that weapons, what it creates, the space it creates, they're good. And we were banged up and we didn't perform and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's fine. But got to give hats off. I thought the touchdown Higgins took off, I think it was right down the sideline. Like that's insane. That is insane. And a Bears wide receiver does that. We're all jumping up and down and saying he's the greatest. So tip the hat for that. But this isn't the Bengals show. But from a Bears perspective, I gotta take me props. I gotta take me walk. I gotta take me enjoyment. I told you about Kyle Monungai. I'll be talking about Monungai from minute one. He just blew the place apart. And I don't want to hear about we need a running back tomorrow. We need a running back. We don't. We really don't.
No, we definitely don't need a running back. The fact that your number one guy's out injured and your backup comes in and gets 176 yards on the ground, had another 25 or something receiving. I mean, it was a phenomenal display, and it just goes to show that it doesn't matter where you're picked in the draft. Like all these guys can come in and they can make an instant impact on in the game, given the opportunity. If you're good enough, and Monungai certainly, and he's been building up to it as well. Like I don't think he actually got. I think his first game getting regular touches of the ball didn't come until like the Las Vegas game or something. So this is only like the 6th game of the season that he's actually been contributing a little bit, each game, and it's incrementally got more as each week's went on, and I think he's it just sort of came to a point where it was building to this sort of thing, and like the Bengals run defense isn't fantastic, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you're still going out there and running for over 170 yards as a rookie at the first time you're a starter. Against an NFL team, it was a huge day of production for Monungai, and I was absolutely delighted. Generally speaking, with the offense, we can start with the offense and then we can move on to the other bits and bobs afterwards. But generally speaking, with the offense, I thought it looked pretty decent. Caleb Williams threw for nearly 300 yards again, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. You look at that, and that's a good outing, man. I went back and watched you can do the 40-minute highlights where you can just watch the plays without all the fucking adverts and all that shit. I went back and watched that this morning, and I'm watching because at the time when I watched the game live, I was thinking, Caleb, we need to get more going. And maybe it was just the heat of the moment in the game. But when I went back and watched it, I was like, actually, do you know what? Like the stuff that he's doing, like if you look at the drives, a lot of the stuff is really, really good. I mean, a big part of it was Monungai getting a lot of handoffs. There's no doubt about that at all. But play action-wise with Caleb Williams, A lot of success there, a lot of success scrambling with the ball in his hands, using the athleticism that we know he has. Still making some really good passes in there as well. There was a few drops here and there from different players. Big touchdown drop in the end zone from Roma Dunze of all people at one point as well. So it was a really, really good outing. And I think that's another one of those games where you see Caleb Williams starting to kind of come into his own and showing what he can be. Don't get me wrong, there was a couple of... Go on.
Jump on that. I don't disagree. I think Caleb, there's progression. There's also little worrying traits as well, though, that needs to get ironed out. It's not without its traits to be fixed, and I'm not saying he's not. I think he played well. He jumped out of the pocket too quick for me yesterday. He went into scramble mode a little bit too fast, and the worrying part then is when he goes into scramble mode. I heard another podcast say it. I think they're right. Players find it difficult to understand what he's going to do next because he's in scramble mode, and they don't seem to get open. These are good players for me. That needs to get ironed out in his game, and that needs to get worked on. And that little calmness, I suppose, is the word I'd use. Now, in saying all that, his pass to Loveland to win the game, on the money, under pressure, that's a first-round pick. Absolutely spot-on pass, creates the space, puts it in the place, the only place you could find it. Did a scramble just before that to get us into that position. And those are the things that he can do. It's just you want to see other stuff developing more in week 9. If I'm honest, that's just my opinion. And that, again, that's not saying that I don't think he's going to do that. It's just, it felt to me last night that if you compare, and look, it's very harsh. Second year quarterback who's in the first year of a scheme versus a veteran like Flacco. Flacco looked so much calmer and so much more at ease at what he was doing. And you felt with Flacco that Flacco was going to score. And with Caleb, he went and did it and proved it and etc. And it's coming. I'm not denying that. It didn't feel the same. And I'm not asking to be Joe Flacco, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying that that's something that has been consistent. There's some little passes he can make. There's checkdowns he can do that he has to do. And against Baltimore, the same. Again, I actually think he played better against Baltimore almost than last night. He played really well last night. And since the Vikings game, absolutely progression. But I think it's also fair to question some of those things that aren't coming as quick as they should be, and checkdowns, and trying to do the Hail Mary passes and trying to do the big things. Again, no interceptions. He keeps the ball really well. He's a threat with his legs. He's an energetic player that just electrifies people around him. He's a great leader. All those things that are there. But I also think we need to also take into consideration that there is more development needed.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Like, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of good stuff happening. But you're right. I was watching it last night, and there was too many times that he was getting the ball, and then I was like, right, he's on the run again. Why are we constantly on the run? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it that the protection's not good? Is it that there's no one open? Or is it that he's getting too kind of happy feet or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was watching. I mean, some of the things, there was no one open, right? Fair enough. The protection was pretty decent for the most part. Theo Benedict had an okay game. You know, it was okay. So the protection for the most part was good. But there was guys open downfield on a couple of occasions where I think maybe you step up in the pocket, you try and make that throw. I think there was a kind of, a wantonness to kind of get out and just run with it, because he knows that, well, I know if I run, I'll get to 10 yards. I know if I do that. So there's that sort of like moment of hesitation almost sometimes in the decision making. And in his head, he's sitting thinking about it while he's got, 2 300-pound tackles running at him or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, and then you're having to kind of run about in circles while you're still, you're getting yourself in a situation there. Just about processing it quicker, making the decisions quicker as well. And I think there's been instances where we see him doing that. I feel that he plays much better when he's under pressure. See, sometimes you look at him and there isn't maybe pressure there, but he's just, hanging around maybe a bit too long, which then allows the pressure to come in. And then we're in a situation where receivers are out of where the position were, so they're trying to kind of cut across, and no one really knows where they're meant to be at that point. And but you're right. I think sometimes you need to just kind of take what the defense gives you. And I tweeted that out last night. Like, if the check down's there, just take the check down. Just take whatever's there. But then again, we don't know what the coaches are asking them to do. We don't know if they're asking them to look for the bigger play or what's going on there. But we can only just see what's on the field, you know.
I don't disagree with that. And it's just that against that Bengals defense, it was the perfect opportunity because they hadn't got Hendrickson. They're not a good defense at all. And that was my hope going into the game last night, that he was going to just dominate the game from the pocket and from those little things. I think you're right. There's a little bit of happy feet, but that sounds really negative because then when he has happy feet, he runs 10, 15 yards, or he creates space and throws a bullet down the line to somebody. And we've seen it, and he's shown it throughout his whole career, college, high school, the whole thing. So that's not going to come overnight. And I'm sure that's being said to him, because you got to look at what Ben Johnson did with Jared Goff in Detroit. And that's obviously in his head because that's where Ben Johnson got success from. So that's where he got his job. So, and yet and all, we're 5-3. You know, kind of way. And he had an unbelievable night. Like, if you look at stats alone, he had an unbelievable stats night. I think he's the first ever player to catch, run, and throw for I don't know how many yards. I think it's the first time ever. So highly critical of a number one pick. Highly critical, but I'm only critical purely because I know there is that growth, and that's so exciting, man. To know that when he does get to that growth level, when there is that comfort in the pocket, and when there is that just running for running's sake, suddenly you're going to have this complete baller who's just going to dominate. And we're still, as I said, we're still winning games. You mentioned the offense. Yeah. We've been talking a lot about getting the ball in the hands of some of our playmakers, and Colson Loveland did all right, didn't he?
He did very well. 120 yards, couple of touchdowns. I mean, that's the sort of thing that you're expecting to see from your top 10 draft pick. That sort of production, we haven't seen it until this point, for a variety of reasons. You know, had a wee bit of an injury there. I think they've been sort of protecting him a wee bit. He's also been playing second fiddle to Cole Kmet, who obviously got injured again last night. And I think, you know, and it's terrible that Kmet's injured, but I think this is a perfect opportunity now for Loveland to really stake his claim and say, right, I should be tight end one on this team. So, you know, the stuff that he did last night was really good. You know, he's a big athletic guy. He's almost a wide receiver. You know, he's a completely different type of tight end from Cole Kmet. Definitely something that we've missed having on the offense, and I want to see more of it. I think this is just the start of it. I just hope that it doesn't go back to, you know, not scheming plays for him, and, you know, even if Kmet's back, he maybe doesn't get as many, you know, and it's the same sort of thing with Monunga. You're like, well, hopefully they don't go back to giving Swift, you know, 65% of the carries, and Monunga only gets 35%, because we've seen arguably a better production given the opportunity from Monunga in that one game. And certainly last night, we've seen a better production from Colson Loveland than we've seen from Cole Kmet all season.
Cole Kmet goes down. Cole Kmet goes down on that catch. He makes that catch and he hits the ground. And that's not many tight ends can do what Loveland did. But that's what happens.
Have we talked about the winning touchdown?
Yeah, takes the catch and hits the ground. That's what happens in that play.
Yeah. There was good movement. You know, like, he caught the ball well on the run. Good movement. Admittedly, he got a bit lucky. The Cincinnati Bengal defensive back should have wrapped up the tackle. It was one of those. Do you remember who was it that used to do that all the time? Was it Eddie Jackson used to do it for the Bears all the time?
Yeah, Jackson used to do it all the time. Yeah.
Shoulder people rather than wrap the tackle. Just take the win, take the tackle, bring the guy down. Don't go for the big pop play. You know, like, I get it, right? But that cost them the game. Do you know what I mean? Like they three players in about him. So it's a combination of his movement, his ability, strength to get away from people, but also we've got a bit of luck there as well. But you're right. I think Cole Kmet maybe doesn't do the same thing. So yeah, Loveland was really, really good last night. I'd love to see it continue. I'd love to see him get more of the ball. What I was really enamored with last night were the Ben Johnson trick plays, though, and we've seen it right on the first drive of the game for the first touchdown of the game for the Bears. It was the Philly special, and obviously Caleb Williams caught the ball in the end zone for the touchdown, man. But what are your thoughts on these trick plays in general? Because there was another one. I think it was in the second half. The screen, the Caleb to Tyson, and Tyson back to Caleb, and then he ran for like 20 yards or something like that after the reception.
I think it was done on purpose against the Bengals, and I think that was done as a sign for other teams down the road. I think that's what that was done. I think Ben Johnson knew he was going up against probably the weakest defense he's going to play against, and I think he was trying to show, yeah, I've got these in my locker as well for other teams to have to study. And I think there was no coincidence that he brought them out against the Bengals. I hadn't really brought them out before. And I think that's the way Ben Johnson thinks. He made a really interesting comment in his presser. He was talking about he loved the strategic part of the last 2 minutes of the game. So he was talking about the strategic part of when to call a timeout, which knew that they'd have time in the clock should they concede a touchdown, to give themselves and he made a comment and he was a little smile on his face. I love the strategic side of that game. And I think there was strategy involved in those play calling last night. I think there was I know I'm going to score, so I'm going to not only score, I'm going to literally like do this so that down the road team's going to have to defend against us differently, or at least put a thought in their brain. It just stands out to me that that's what you do. I think the other one that I found interesting was, I'd say Luther Burden III is sitting at home almost crying because he sees what Monungai did, sees what Loveland did, and I'd say he would have probably got the same in this game because, Swift gets held out for this game. Not surprising. I'd say Cole Kmet wouldn't have seen as much as Loveland because this was the game I'd say he circled for those rookies, those top-end rookies to get involved. And I just thought no one expected the defense to be as poor in the second half as they were, and we'll get onto them in a minute. But as you said, the offense, I think the run game, we have found a run game in the last 4 or 5 weeks out of nowhere. And Joe Tooney, he's just a superb signing for me. If you're in the Ryan Poles camp of, I love him, and I'm not in that camp, but if you are in that, you throw Joe Tooney up there as one of the number one reasons why you should say that, because that is turning out to be an absolute steal for the money we're giving him, because he just solidifies. He's done so much for that offensive line, and Jackson as well. To be fair, quiet, don't hear much from him, which is what you want from your lineman. And they've definitely done a lot in the centre as well. All three of them together, Dalton. They've definitely allowed us to have that run game.
The offensive line have been immense in the running game since the bye. I think before the bye, the Bears were averaging about 100 yards running per game. They're now up to average 186 yards rushing per game. And they've had 2 games in the last 4 where they've had over 200 yards rushing, which is phenomenal. So that offensive line are doing an absolutely astounding job of every single one of them in the rushing game. I don't know if you watched some of the highlights and some of the stuff on Twitter and X or whatever. Darnell Wright basically just like running folk off of the pitch through the wall into next Saturday. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just phenomenal stuff, man. Like it's just really, really well put together. It's obviously just taking a wee bit of time to, set everything out and go, right, where are we at? Having that early bye week, said it before, was crucial to sit and make adjustments. It's just been absolutely phenomenal. So between the coaching, between the offensive line, it's making it so much easier for these running backs to get things going. And that's not to take anything away from the running backs, because Monungai still breaking tackles last night. He broke 108 yards after contact yesterday as well. Do you know what I mean? Like the guy is a bulldozer, you know, for his size as well. Like he's just running through folk, man. So in terms of the running game, it's the strength of the offense right now.
He reminds me so much of Pacheco from the Chiefs. He reminds me so much of him. 7th-round pick as well. Just reminds me so much of him. Just bulldozing running back, and with finesse, and never, like I'm jinxing him now, but never dropped the ball in college. Hasn't dropped the ball so far. Just those are the things you want in your running back. And Roshan Johnson's probably not going to make the team next year based on what those two have done so far. And that shows that again, if you want to put in the polls good moves, you got to give him credit for this one as well, because he picked him in the 7th round. And everyone was giving him stick. Yeah. Why didn't you get this guy? Why didn't you get that guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th? We needed a running back. Well, he found one in the 7th, and you got to give him credit for that too. So, God, I sound like I'm back into Ryan Paul's bus, and I'm not really.
Listen, like, credit where credit's due, as you say, man. Like, the whole thing in the off season was we needed another running back. Folk weren't overly enamored with Swift, and then he waits to the 7th round to take someone. So naturally, you're going to go, what the fuck's going on here? Why have we waited this long to do anything? But you know, Monungai's been excellent so far. Hopefully that continues. But listen, offense was very, very good. We cannot argue with that at all. Let's move over to defense, though. All of you will be aware. The news just broke about 20 minutes ago. Dayo Odeyingbo will be out for the season with a torn Achilles. So
you just get used to how to pronounce his name.
Wasn't already a concern. Just as he's out for the season, that's me. I've been working on that for fucking 9 weeks. But listen, that's him out. So if you didn't think the pass rush was doing particularly well right now, think what it's going to look moving forward. Do the Bears, before we get into the defense, let's just talk about this quickly then. Do the Bears have to trade for someone now?
Yeah, they have to go after now, because it's not just him. You've got Don Robinson is out, and they don't seem to trust Austin Booker at all. And then Hardy is not good enough. Sweat's got, yeah, one play. Where was he the rest of the game? They didn't put him in the rest of the game. He makes that a massive play. Makes a massive play on a strip sack. Like, amazing play. Absolutely destroys their tackle. And he didn't get put back in the game. I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on there. Makes no sense to me. Like, if you look at the last few plays when we needed a pass rush, it was Hardy. It wasn't Booker, which makes no sense, because if they're scared of Booker on the run, which obviously is where it comes from, well, they're not going to be running the football when they're 14 points down at the 50 with one timeout left. But for some reason, they still didn't put Booker in, and I don't get that one, if I'm completely honest. I think from the side of, yeah, we have to go out and get somebody, even if it's a rental to the end of the season, to get us through. We probably needed it before Doyle's injury anyway, but I think this just crystallizes it. I think you go out and get somebody that just, yeah, gets you through the hump, and then you spend your free agency, or you spend your draft capital on an edge in 2026. I think that's the way forward. What about you?
Listen, it just adds to the whole overall problem we've got at the moment. You know, we've got the problem with the pass rush. We've got the problem with the cornerback situation. I think Gardner Johnson came in yesterday and did a decent job for his first game, getting a sack on the board as well. But Tyreek Stevenson was just taken for a ride pretty much the whole game. And most of the defensive backs were pretty poor. But that defensive back situation is linked to the pass rush. You know, if there's better defensive backs there, good coverage, it gives the defensive ends more time to get to the quarterback. Do you know what I mean? Everything's sort of linked there. So yeah, we absolutely need help at defensive end. We absolutely need help at cornerback as well. So I think you've got to be targeting both of those areas. I don't think necessarily we should be targeting both in a trade. I think you're probably more likely to see a defensive end traded for. I know Jalen Phillips was traded today to the Eagles. And I wasn't really a fan of giving up a third round for that guy. He's had two years in a row of season-ending injuries, and then he's going to want to get paid at the end of the year. So you probably want to give up a wee bit less than that. A fourth would have been fine. You need to look at who else is there. Do they go back to the Trey Hendrickson thing? But do you want to overpay just because you're desperate now? There's a lot to sort of consider there. I think in terms of cornerbacks, you could talk about trading. I still go back to there's free agents out there that can come in and do a job until Jalen Johnson's ready to go again. And I think they should absolutely look along that route. But in terms of the pass rush, you have to look for some sort of trade option, because there's nothing on the market, free agent market just now, that's going to come in and make an impact.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different on the cornerback one. I think the cornerback one, a lot of it, Tariq Stevenson first came back from, he was out for a week, and we're not going to go up against quality of the wide receivers we went up against last night. We're just not. And as you said, if we don't get any pass rush, then no matter who the quarterback is, he just has to throw it in the vicinity of T. Higgins last night, just in the vicinity of him, and Higgins makes a play, and he's just that good. And we're not going to come up against that. I think on the other side, I'd be giving up a good bit to get an edge. And then where it gets really interesting is our cap hit, and we don't have a lot of money to spend. So whether somebody wants to come to the Bears to get paid, then you're giving up a third or a fourth, whatever it is, for somebody who's probably going to be here to the end of the year because we can't afford to pay them. So it just gets everything interesting. Chubb is the one that's really interesting, because I think Chubb only has a 1.5 million cap hit, 1.8 million cap hit, which is obviously doable within Miami. He'll want to get out of Miami. That's one I can see them going towards. The cornerback out of New Orleans, I forgot his name now. Taylor, I think it is. He was very connected. Yeah, I'm not giving up. I'm just not giving up a first for Hendrickson. I'm just not. Superstar, brilliant player. But if you are, Taylor's right. If you are, for example, if you're the Detroit Lions and they needed a edge that they think would get them over the top to win the Super Bowl, then yeah, you probably give up the first for that. If you're the Eagles trying to solidify it, you might give up a first for that. But I don't think you can, with the money we've spent on our defensive line, that's stuck on our defensive line, I don't think you can give that big, massive investment on that side of the football at that position for the return they're getting so far.
For Trey Hendrickson, for me, it's not the first round pick. Well, it is. I would give up a first round pick for a Trey Hendrickson type of player, but I don't want to give up a first round pick for a 30-year-old. That's the thing. If he's 27, fine, I'll do it. You give him a new contract, happy days. But you don't do that it'd be daft. So yeah, I mean, if it was a second round pick, yeah, let's do it. I absolutely would do that, no hesitation whatsoever. Because he's a guy who could come in and make a difference. Obviously, there's an injury issue as well. You need to be aware of. But either way, whatever happens, the Bears need to look at that defensive end trade, and they've got 24 hours to do it. Whatever they're going to do, if they're going to do anything. I disagree though that in terms of the cornerbacks. I mean, I think regardless of who you're coming up against, take 449 passing yards in a game is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And we can't account for injuries that are going to happen again. We already had that game against the Lions where we gave up that number of yards. And the only difference that night was that our offense didn't get it going, so we didn't score the points to come back into it. We did it last night. Poorer team, obviously, right? It's not the point. 450 yards given up, 111 to Chase, 120 to Higgins. That's a huge concern for me. So that for me is a target area, especially now that, fair enough, you've got Gardner Johnson coming in to cover for the fact that you don't have Kyler in there, fine. But Jalen, and Dean's asking in the chat there, when's Jalen back? I don't know. I mean, they're thinking before the end of the year. So I think you've got to go out there and you've got to make a move of some sort. But then, man, you're getting somebody in, and you're looking at anyone
you're getting somebody in to fill a hole. I get that. Are they guaranteed me better than what they have? Maybe.
Aye.
That's the point.
I'd bring Stephen Gilmore in today and have him play opposite Tyreek Stevenson until Jalen Johnson's back. Fair enough. He's older, whatever. He's going to come in and he's going to be better. He's going to give you better production, man. Like if the guy's fit and he's ready to go, bring him in a short-term contract until the end of the season, and then that's
there's a reason why he hasn't got. But there's a reason why he hasn't got a contract. There must be a reason why he hasn't got a contract to this day. We're in week 9. Yeah. So we're then getting somebody in week 9 that nobody else wants. It's. I get your point on paper, definitely.
Yeah, but you've got to do something, though, man. You got to do something.
But the problem for me isn't the corners. The problem for me is, and you mentioned earlier on, is the pass rush. We're not getting the pass rush. Like we had a scenario where, okay, in the 8 games we played so far, it's been 2 that I would totally. Detroit ripped us apart, and last night they ripped us apart, but not other games we weren't getting ripped apart in the corners. It wasn't like you were going every single week going, oh my God, they're going to kill us at cornerback. It didn't happen. And look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe next week it does. But for me, the problem is that the pass rush isn't getting home. And Flacco had all day. He looked so comfortable in that 4th quarter. He looked under. And this is a guy, by the way, who up to the day before the game was 50-50 to play. And is 40 odd, whatever he is, only joined the team 3 weeks ago. He had so much time. There was no pressure from Gervon Dexter. There was no pressure from Billings. There was no pressure up the center. The blitz packages, I know they got home with Gardner Johnson, but the blitz packages didn't work. And Flacco had all day to find world-class wide receivers. And yeah, again, I'm not giving a pass to the cornerbacks. You're right. The numbers are shockingly bad. But for me, the bigger issue is we're not getting pressure. And it's not even just on the edges. It's because Montez Sweat has actually got more pressure in the last 3 weeks than he had in 6 months, I'd say. But it's everywhere. There's no real ability for our defensive line to make the quarterback feel uncomfortable. And all through this season, I can't remember a game outside of the first half against the Vikings. And yeah, we've takeaways and we've got loads of amazing plays that resulted in takeaways, but there's no pressure. For me, we spend all the money we can, if that's what we're going to give it in, is to get that extra pressure, to create that opportunities for some of our defensive backs who've shown that when the ball is there, they will take it away. Sean Wright's done it, Tyreek Stevenson's done it, Byard's done it, Brisker's done it. They've all done it. That's where my goal is. Again, not saying that we don't have an issue at cornerback, but I think my number 1 and number 2 scenario is get your pass rush, get that sorted quickly.
Yeah, no, you're right. The pass rush needs to be done. If I make the trade, it's a pass rush. I look for a free agent this corner just now, just to shore it up a little bit. We need a bit of depth in there. Somebody else goes down again, then you're up shit creek. So yeah, it's a concern. But either way, I'm hoping we see some sort of activity. At the end of the day, there's a space on the roster at the moment, so they need to do something. But hopefully something more significant. Rumors going around that the Bears were involved with the Jalen Phillips thing, but they just didn't want to go to the 3rd round. There were rumors going around they were involved in the Jeffrey Simmons, taking Jeffrey Simmons over from the Titans as well, but didn't want to go as far as they. And fair play to these teams holding out for as much as they can get. I'd do the same. There's no need for these guys to give somebody up for hee-haw if they don't want to. So, but yeah, it's definitely a concern. I say 450 yards last night is a lot, and that needs reviewed. It was a great win. It was a great win, and it was fantastic to score that many points. But giving up that many points is bad, and that needs to get fixed like sharpish.
Can I say one thing though that really impressed me, and it shows the difference between this coaching staff and previous coaching staffs? Shit mans, basically 2 shit mans. At the Hail Mary pass, remember the Hail Mary against Washington? We rushed 3, and we all sat back and gave Daniels all day he wanted to make the Hail Mary pass. What I loved about last night, on the Hail Mary is they blitzed. They just went. And it's like, okay, we're taking a risk, obviously, because you've got amazing wide receivers who can catch the football. And if it gets that far, we probably are in trouble. But they blitzed them and they said, okay, we're going to send as many as we can to try and at least make it uncomfortable. And what happens? He's not able to throw the ball because he's not able to get set. And the ball doesn't get, I think it's 20-yard line by the time that it was Stevenson took the interception, or I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But it's that level of thought process that this defensive team is. And then Ben Johnson said, yeah, that was in our game plan. I guarantee you that Manny Flus did not have a Hail Mary plan. I guarantee you he didn't, right? And if it was to put everybody on the goal line and hope and pray that it'd be grand. And for me, that's been so encouraging in this first eight games of the season is that level of okay, we're not playing well, you're not playing well. And even afterwards, there was a great interview with Boyd where Boyd was saying, yeah, what were you like when Loveland scored? I was pissed off because I played badly and because we played badly as a defense. Yeah, we won, I'm delighted, and I celebrated a few seconds, but I'm in the dressing room and I'm not happy because I know we didn't play well. And that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear like Club Dub and we're all dancing around and everything's brilliant and sunshine lollipops. They know that themselves. Mm-hmm. I think we go into the Giants game and I think you're going to see a big kickback from the defense because Dennis Allen won't like that performance, won't like the fact that they rolled over is extreme. That's really harsh. But they just couldn't handle what was in front of them. And I think you'll find a big kickback next week against the Giants, who are down a few important players themselves.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good game to have next after that because, as you say, down a few players. They've only got a couple of wins this season. The Bears will be hoping they can go in there and make it 6-3 next week. But it's the NFL, and really, you don't really know what's going to happen. It could go either way. Like is that any given Sunday thing, and it's absolutely true. But we'll wait and see what happens. Special teams was another thing I wanted to talk about as well. Obviously, right from the off, the Bengals get the big touchdown return from kickoff. We look at the onside kick recovery. We look at the coverage and special teams in general. Bit of a problem for the last few weeks, but is it time to make a change there? Is it time to make a change?
Bit of a problem. It's been shit. It's been atrocious. It's been shit. Our kicker tried his hardest to kick the ball out of the end zone at the end of the game and couldn't do it. Again. He can't kick the football that long. And Cairo has been brilliant. And I'll never forget him for the kick against the Packers and loads of other kicks and important kicks. And he's a cool dude and he's brilliant around the dressing room and consistent inside 40. Absolutely. But we must be coming soon to a conversation because just not good enough, man. Just not good enough. And then add on to that, as Lee said, Hightower. The only one to survive from last year, and again, lovely guy, says all the right things, but like some of the stuff that's happening, like how come the opposition kickoffs are always miles better than our kickoffs? So let's look at us on the ball. Whenever we kick off, do you ever feel confident that we're going to go the length? No. They're not. The only time that felt that way, remember Burton, I think in week 1, took a kick return and went to good.
Yeah,
that was it. I never got a chance again. But then you got like everything else you see, it just looks pedestrian. We don't look. One lad will make a massive hit, and you're like, oh, that's brilliant. But there's no structure to it. And Bengals last night, like not just the kickoff, they might have got a second one. It was just pathetic, special teams was. It really was. What do you think?
No, absolutely spot on, man. It's been getting there for a few weeks, and I think something needs to change. Obviously, Hightower's been there for quite a long time. It's almost like they just went, we'll just keep him there. It's only special teams, So maybe a change. I mean, it's highly unlikely they're going to do anything coaching wise changes or anything like that before the end of the year. But you need to have a wee rethink about where you are there in general. I think the kicking, you mentioned it yourself, a big issue. I'll ask the guys in the chat, Moody or Santos for the rest of the season. Where are you with that? Moody's got his own issues as well. None of these guys are perfect, but Santos is, consistently doing things that we don't want him to be doing. So, do you leave him out? Do you just cut him? Do you go with Moody for the rest of the year? There's an argument to be had either way there, but I think special teams put us in a predicament yesterday. If you think of giving up the touchdown right from the off, there's 7 points. If you think about the onside kick recovery by the Bengals, puts them back, gives them a ball back again. They go down, they score another touchdown with a 2-point conversion there as well. So there's 15 points on the board there from the special teams not doing what they're meant to be doing. Take into account as well, I don't know what the average return was for the Bengals last night, but certainly in the first half it was pretty decent. So that was a huge contributor to the number of points that were on the board there for the Bengals as well. So it was a team effort in that sense. But yeah, there's definitely an argument at this point to be moving on from Santos and to be giving Moody a go, because at the end of the day, it from what I've seen of him, it doesn't look any worse than what Santos is doing. And it looks like he can definitely get the ball further down the field than Santos can as well. And I think given the way that this the new kickoff is and all that kind of stuff, maybe that's something that we need to rely on a wee bit more. But listen, I'm happy for the guys in the chat to come out and let me know what you guys think. Do we I'm laughing at this 4th round pick kicker in the draft. Yeah, I know he was right. Sorry, I thought you were maybe referencing the fact that Ryan Poles might go out and spend a 4th round pick on a fucking kicker or a punter or a long snapper. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, lads. But something needs to change there. That's exactly.
I just find it's not just the kicking a goal. And I get Lee's point. Lee made a point about that he's not Moody isn't as consistent, and I agree he's not. But I take me chances on that versus look, Santos didn't kick well last night, but he didn't kick well a week before, and then can't kick the ball out the end zone, and it's costing us games. And end of the day, he wins games as well, so it's a mixture of one to the other. But you don't want to be talking about your kicker. You don't want to be talking about your punter. You don't want to be talking about your long snapper. You don't want to talk about special teams at all. And look, last night, again, we lose that game because of the special teams. That's the way I looked. It wouldn't have been because of the defense, because you said it there. The defense were getting onto the field in terrible positions. In the first case, they weren't on the field at all, and we're 7-0 down from the kickoff. And it's look, and then still I keep going back to it, and still we come out and win the game, and we still find a way to win the game. And this is what this team is. We're a different type of Chicago Bears now. We're a different type of outfit. We must be difficult to understand, because there was so much, not just the trick plays, there was so much other players getting their hands on the ball. Loveland, Zacchaeus got his hands on the ball. DJ Moore got his hands on the ball. Roma Dunze wasn't really targeted. And next week it could be the flip opposite, and suddenly Rome is targeted all day long. And it's brilliant, because suddenly it must be difficult if you're a defensive coordinator to match up against Chicago Bears now, especially if Loveland. Yeah. And it means then that we're not going to have that one wide receiver who's going to score, who's going to get 1,000 yards in the season. We may not have that, but that's not a problem for me, because you've got it broken down across everywhere else. Also, outside of the Baltimore game, we've averaged above 25 points nearly every game. Like, it's insane. But like, as Bears fans, we don't know what this is like, because we're so spoiled a little bit from what we're getting this year on offensive scoring. And I think credit to everybody, credit to that whole team, how they bounced back from the Detroit game, how they bounced back from the Ravens again, scoring 47 points, all offensively. There wasn't one defensive takeaway, even though I still say Jermaine Evans should have got that big 6. But anyway, I think it's been brilliant. Really has.
Yeah, the pick 6 one was interesting, man. It was definitely interesting. For me, there wasn't really anything in it. It should have been
that
fine.
Rule is shite. That rule is shite. Like his fingernail.
Did you notice any time anything happened? Aye, Gene Steratore. Anytime anything happened, it was almost like he has to justify whatever the officials are doing. And it reminded me, and I posted it last night. Do you remember Little Britain and Vicky Pollard? And it was like, yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah, but it was like, listen, that was like listen to him, like, but the thing is, and they did this, and it's like, come on, mate, you know it's a lot of shit. Just fucking admit it. Do you know what I mean? So, that was a big bugbear of mine, and there was a few dodgy decisions, to be honest. We've been having them all
year. The other interception. Can I answer? Am I the only one that thought the other interception was Grant? The one that Brisker got, and 2 plays before it, and it was on Chase.
I'm trying to remember.
On Chase Higgins. It was the cornerback, the fourth cornerback, 6 or 5, whatever he is. Can't remember his name. 24. Can't believe I forgot his name. Does a great play on the ball. McLeod does a fucking great play on the ball. Great play on Chase. And just because Chase throws his hands in the air looking for a flag, that's the only reason the flag is thrown. What's he meant to do there? Is he meant to just let your man catch the ball and then tackle him? Is that the rule now? It's that's no contact at all. I must catch him. It must be a nightmare.
There's something to be said for officials reacting to crowds and to home crowds especially, and I think that's definitely a thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a big issue there either. It's almost like they were trying to keep the game close for some reason. I don't know why, but there you go. Listen, guys, we've got to be on for another kind of 10, 15 minutes maybe. So if you get any questions or whatever, then stick them in the chat and we'll try and get through them before we finish. I had a really good one from Dean earlier on. Go on.
No, go on, Dean. What was Dean's question?
Right, I'll do Dean's question. Right, okay. So Dean asked us earlier on, and I thought it'd be good to do this, and we can give them a rank if we do them like grades, whatever. After 8 games, how do we rank the Bears unit? Offense, defense, special, and give me your letter grade for each of those sections after the first half of the season.
Right, I'll start with worst to best. So worst for me is the special teams. I'm giving it an F.
Okay.
I think the special teams has been that bad. It's scary when they go on the field. You're like, oh my God. The only thing they haven't done, and they're going to do it this weekend because I'm saying it, is a muff punt or a muff kickoff or something. It's just been atrocious for me. And Homer coming back, I thought would help. Hopefully it does. Blackwell gets injured then. It's just been a little bit of a shit show. I think defensively, I think you're giving it B- is what I'm looking at that. And that's just because of 2 games where we gave up a hell of a lot of points, but their takeaways have been insane. There's been some brilliant bounce back performance seasons from the likes of Byard and Edmonds, and I think Sweat isn't as bad as they say. It's just his contract makes him, you expect more. And I think Allen's been an absolute breath of fresh air. So that's why I'm going with a B-. With the offensive side of the football, I'm probably going with a B. B just in the edge of B- as well, because I've seen the growth of Caleb. I've seen there's some real positivity, and anyone that's questioned him as our quarterback for the next 10 years needs to go talk to themselves. I think there's so much talent there, and we finally got a play caller that actually knows what he's doing. And I think the offensive line looks so solid. We suddenly have a run game. We've weapons everywhere, all of whom seem to want the ball. I loved Britain's touchdown. Roma Dunze's block. Roma Dunze's block, right? Ronaldo had a great game last night. Dropped one in the end zone, wasn't getting targeted, couldn't get open. Watch back that block, man. It is awesome. He, no block, no rock. He absolutely created that space for him. Loveland has been doing blocks. Everyone's like, well, Loveland's got a touch. Watch the first 3 or 4 games. He's been blocking his ass off. And I think that's coming from a culture within the organization, coming from an offensive line. And I think, from my perspective, I think that's where they probably deserve to be, because the work rate they're putting in, and it's not always working. It's not always pretty. We're not always scoring all those massive points, but we're still scoring averaging well over 24, 25 points a game, and we look dangerous when we get on the field. Do you know what I will say about this? Unless before I get you onto your ones, I felt confident with 53 seconds to go we'd at least have a shot to win it. I didn't think it was going to be a touchdown, but I thought we'd have a shot to win it, a kick to win it. And that's how much confidence I have in this offensive line. Let's look at before that. The coaches we've had before, the quarterbacks we had before, no chance. Absolutely no chance. And that's where the solidification of where, geez, that's a big word. That's where we're getting to with this offense. So that's what I'm going with. So an F for special teams, a B- for defense, a B for offense, and I'm gonna go with A for A- for coaching, because I just think they've been sensational.
Oof. Fair play. Listen, I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, man, for definite. I think get the grades out of the way first. Special teams, I'll give them a D. I feel like an F seems. I mean, they've been bad, but then if you want to include Tory Taylor in your special teams, he's punting well. Do you know what I mean? He's punting well. I hate to say it. So, fair enough. So I'll give them a D for that. Lots to work on. I think the defense has been pretty fucking good all year. Obviously you've had those 2 big games there where they gave up a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. But generally speaking, they've been very good, considering is that they've lost a lot of players to injury. So again, I'd probably give them a B. And offensively, it's one that's sort of developed and evolved over the last 8-9 weeks for definite, and it's going to continue to do that. I think at the moment you're sitting at a B- for the offense. There's still a lot to work on there. I think because they've eventually got the running game going, which is great. There's still a lot to come from the passing game, and I think we'll get there. And we go back to what Ben Johnson was saying about the offense and when they expect them to be, where it looks more like the offense they want it to be. And you're talking December, so you're still another 5 games away from where you want them to be. So plenty of time to develop, and I think they're doing a great job of giving Caleb time to learn the offense and get comfortable in the offense by having a stellar offensive line and a really good running game at the moment. And you're right, I think the coaching helps for definite. I think the coaching is just taking this team to a whole nother level that we wouldn't have thought possible with the last 2 guys that were in charge. I think, again, I'll go back to the bye week, making the adjustments and all that kind of stuff, and even making the in-game adjustments. We talked about changing your left tackle and your right tackle midway through a game. You wouldn't have seen that before, but it happens midway through a game. They turn it around and they start to look a lot better. So I think in terms of your coaching, for me, I'd probably give them an A- at this point, because end of the day, there have been some play calls and things that I haven't liked, so it's not going to be perfect. But I think 8 games into the season, if you're given those sort of grades, you should be a happy chappy. But yeah, I just noticed a comment in the chat. Is my Wi-Fi doing something again? This fucking Wi-Fi, by the way, I'm telling you.
We should rename this the
Actually, I don't think it's the Wi-Fi. I actually think it's now this laptop, because the Wi-Fi is fine, but this laptop's a wee bit old. I maybe need to use the other one to replace this one. So
can I try?
I'll try the other one.
I'm showing a quote that I want to see just there. Patrick Finley just sent out a tweet that says Ben Johnson called it wild that the Bears seem to be making strides at defensive end and then lose Shamar Turner and Deo Agabo. Deo, just leave it at that, to injury. Said team is willing to make additions tomorrow at DL and cornerback. So
there you go.
Going back to what we were speaking about earlier on, I think that's pretty much, if Ben's coming out and saying that, I think there may be a deal in place somewhere. And I think that may be a situation where we kind of solidify, look, if we came out with two players that you mentioned, if we got two of those guys in, we do need it. I think people have forgotten about Turner in the same way they've forgotten about Ozzie Trapillo. I think you may see more of both of those. You hope you see more about both of those next season. More consistency to them. I think it's been amazing how quickly this coaching ticket are able to move on from players though as well. You look, Braxton Jones is gone, like as in pretty much gone out of the picture now. There's not even a conversation. Wouldn't surprise me if you see that going on. Actually, Lee, good point. Actually, I don't know if you saw Tony, but Jaden Daniels got another, and he dislocated his shoulder, dislocated his collarbone. And God, that kid seems to be getting in the wars, which unfortunately comes with his position, I'm afraid. But which is also why Tyson Bajan's contract is a really smart move from Chicago. But move on. And I just think we just have so much positivity, and we're 5-3, and we're going into the Giants game favourites by 3.5 points to go 6-3, and suddenly 6-3 going into our toughest period. But you look at that toughest period, we should have beaten Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings just went to Detroit and beat them. Green Bay Packers just lost to the Panthers.
It's a mad world.
The only one out of them all that I'm going, we're definitely not going to win there, is the Philadelphia Eagles. So outside of that game, I'm
we'll beat them.
I definitely see how the Eagles are different. I'd love us to give a good pop off. We're going to have a pop off our rivals. I don't think we're going to lose 6 games to them, but I think I don't rate the Packers. I know whatever, but I don't rate their quarterback. You saw it yesterday. I think they've got offensive issues. I think they've got, don't get me wrong, Parsons makes them, is a very tough matchup for the Bears, but that's a team you can beat. Not worrying about the Vikings. Great team. Beat us already. Very good team. Lions hammered us. But I think we give them all a game, and I think we should be feeling confident going into these sets of games, and it's not, oh God, we're playing these next 4 teams, we haven't a hope. I could really think we could upset some teams. Like we could really, like, let's look at it this year, reevaluate it. I said I was looking around 9 wins this year. I still think we're going to end up around 9-10 wins, and that would be from where we were to where we are now in year 1 of a whole new coaching ticket. I think that's insane. Really doing
huge.
Long may that continue.
Huge, man. Like, and this is the thing. There's none of these games that I'm going into, and I'm thinking we can't win. Every game we're going into at the moment, I'm thinking we can absolutely win this. Like, there's no reason why we can't. You talk about the Eagles. The Giants beat the Eagles by 34 points to 16 or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. The Broncos are decent this year as well. Do you know what I mean? But they also beat the Eagles. You know, it's one of these things where you don't know. Like, and as I say, I mean, when did we play the Eagles anyway? What week is that in? Do we know?
It's 4 more weeks.
End of November, right? So yeah. you got another 3 and a bit weeks to get to that stage. Plenty of opportunity for this offense to develop further, for the defense to get a bit better, for us to possibly get some players in the next 24 hours as well. I think you get to that stage against the Eagles, and there's absolutely no reason why you can't win. Lee, you're spot on. It's a Friday game, which is weird. It's like 8 o'clock at night over here that it's on the Friday, which is a really, really strange one. But at least it's not back in 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'll take that. But yeah, listen, any of these games we can go in and feel like we can win them. And that's not a feeling that I've had with this team for a long, long time. Say it again from earlier on yesterday, regardless of how many times the Bengals scored the touchdown, I still felt that we were going to win the match somehow. Do you know what I mean? Because I felt that the offense were doing what they needed to do for the most part. And that running game, no one's stopping it at the minute. And that is just getting us in fantastic situations.
So here we go. So I'm going to go with this. We do this over here in this part of the world. Man of the match. Who's your man of the match from the Chicago Bears?
From yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle Monangai. All day, man. There's no competition. What about yourself?
Well, you've taken Monangai. Monangai was that. I think you can't look past Loveland as well. I think when Loveland was called on, it's the blocking he's doing as well. It's the work rate. It's his first start. I know Monangai's first start as well, and Kyle's my man. But I think those two, Joe Tooney is just, I think I'm in love with the man. It just is everything you want in offense. Darnell Wright, another super performance. But I think that's where you're looking at. It's not just easy ones. And then you look at outside of the obvious play. What was your favorite play of the game yesterday? Forget about the Loveland touchdown, obviously. What's your favorite play of the game?
I kind of like the DJ Moore touchdown because you know how it was the one where they were trying to claim that he had fumbled it at the line when it had clearly crossed the plane. It was clearly a touchdown. I don't even know why anybody was talking about it. And it wasn't even like it was a fantastic... Well, I mean, it was a really good run, no doubt about it, and he did great to get where he was there. Like, there was more impressive touchdowns on the day, but for me, that was my favourite touchdown because do you remember when Matt Eberflus? It was John Fox. No, it was John Fox, sorry. I get the two of them confused because they're both shy. John Fox had challenged something like that. Yes. He was basically the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday, and he challenged the play, and we ended up losing the touchdown. It was a turnover instead, sort of thing. And that was sort of the reverse yesterday, and we got a bit of rub of the green, you know. Like, so for me, it was just like that's almost like a symbolic thing for this season and for this new Bears. We're overcoming all of these things that have happened.
Sorry, this is the quote of the week. This is the quote of the whole Bear Down Abroad podcast. This is the quote. Fox was less shite than Flus. Well, we had some fucking awful coaches. Fucking awful. And then followed up by, but still shite. No, for me, my favourite player.
This is our categories. It's just like, who was the least shite? Who was the best? Who was the least shite?
We have quite a few to pick from. No, for me, my favourite one, we're going to be going soon, but my favourite one was Austin Booker's sack. And it frustrates me even more why we don't see him on the field more. Because he absolutely bulldozed their left tackle. Absolutely manhandled him. Can't remember if it was left or right. Put him on his ass. And then not only that, though, went after the football.
Orlando Brown Jr. He
absolutely destroyed him. And for me, Austin Booker's that play jumping got me out of my seat. That was the first time my girlfriend mumbled that I was waking her up. So that was my first warning. And then when the other warning came when Loveland scored, she had no choice but to him and jump around and dance around the place. And then spend the next 15 seconds terrified they were going to lose it somehow. Welcome to Chicago Bears fandom at whatever time it was, midnight.
Fun game though, man. Fun game. Listen, guys, it's been a blast being back on after being off for the last couple of weeks. We both had a couple of different things going on. So, listen, we're back to our regular scheduled programming every Monday after the game. We'll be back next Monday. We might have a familiar face joining us on the show next Monday as a special guest. So we're waiting for that.
Also, Tony, before you go, Bear Down Abroad might be in the old draft market. Let's leave it at that. We might be in the old trade deadline.
We might be in
the old trade deadline ourselves.
I'll trade you a Mars bar for something.
Just before I go as well. As a teaser.
That's a teaser, not a Malteser. And just before I go as well, man, just wanted to say, hail, hail, Celtic into the final, and that's it. That's all I'm going to put in there. So, guys, have a great week, and we'll catch you next Monday on the show. But and then